it's Colleen. I finally recorded my video that I've been meaning to do, where I'm going to teach you about some parts of astrology that a lot of people don't understand, and that's the houses and what they represent, as well as planet symbology. So I've decided to do it through the lens of a tree, and I did not come up with the core concept of this. Often people have said, like, the roots can be the 4th house because it's where you grow from, the 1st and 7th are the branches because that's what people connect to, and then the 10th being the leaves because that's what people know you for. That's how you identify a tree, right? That said, I've taken it like a few steps further and added concepts to every house, not just the angles. And on top of that, I've added representation or symbology to the different planets related to trees or just like gardening in general, sort of. Alright, so let's talk about the houses. So when we discuss houses, we need to think of them in a circle because they are cyclical and they roll into each other, you could say. So if you have something to draw along, I would highly recommend that. Always start, obviously, with a circle, but then doing a horizontal and vertical line. The horizontal line represents the horizon, so the leftmost or eastmost is where the sun rises, and west is where it sets. The middle line is the highest point in the sky and then the lowest, and then as you see, I split each quarter into thirds, because there are 12 houses, right? 4 times 3 is 12. Math. Anyway, after you do that, start drawing lines across, connecting them. Does not have to be perfect. We'll just do the best that we can. Alright, so what are the houses? Well, first of all, there are 12 houses, and within the houses there are different topics that we're going to talk about briefly and then connect to a tree. One thing important to understand is that the houses do not correspond to the 12 zodiac signs. That's just sort of an oversimplification that modern astrology has created, but they're not the same. So let's talk about it. What are the different houses? What do they represent? The first thing that I find very important to understand is the different types of houses. So in red, I'll be highlighting angular houses, and that is the 1st, the 7th, the 4th, and the 10th. Angular houses are very prominent because they're the most obvious parts of our life. Ourself, other people, public, and then private. The 1st being you, the 7th being who are you with, the 10th being what do you aspire to be, and then the 4th being where are you from. Following the angular houses, we have a lower type of energy called succedent houses. Succedent house themes grow out of the angled theme. So if the 1st house is who are you, the 2nd house becomes what do you have. If the 4th house is where are you from, the 5th house is what do you create from what you came from. The 7th is who are you with, the 8th is how do you share what you have with that person, and then if the 10th is what you aspire to be, the 11th is who do you share those aspirations with, or who do you create things with. So succedent houses are less obvious when a planet transits through them. Nonetheless, they're more obvious than the next category, which is cadent houses. The best way I can understand cadent houses is that they are the foundation of an angular house. For example, if the 1st house is who you are, the 12th house is what's beneath the surface or your subconscious, right? And you have to have, everyone has like a subconscious shadow self that inadvertently shapes who you are. And then we can go on to say, for example, the 9th and the 10th. The 9th is your philosophical beliefs, how you expand, and that usually leads to whatever you aspire to do. Same for 6th and 7th. The 6th is your constant daily, the grind, you know, and whatever you do constantly shapes the people that you will interact with. And then 3rd and 4th, if the 4th house is where you're from, your private sector, what makes you feel comfortable in that private sector of your life. Alright, so let's start talking about astrology through the lens of a tree. We'll draw a little tree up in the corner so we can keep referencing back to that imagery. But to start, usually we start with the 1st house. If we're thinking about it in terms of a tree, I sort of like that we start with the 4th house. Because at the end of the day, we don't just appear out of thin air, right? We come from our family. We grow from the earth our tree and we put down our roots. So the fourth house is going to be symbolic of, I guess, also soil, because that's where the roots grow originally. So soil and roots are attributed to the fourth house. Let's keep doing the angle houses. If the soil and the roots are where we come from, what people can connect with and know us for are going to be our branches. So the first house will be our branches, while the seventh will be their branches, other people in your life, whatever branches. Imagine you're like with your best friend, childhood best friend, you up in a tree, you're just chilling, whatever. You got your branch, they got their branch, it's all chill, okay? 10th house is going to be what people know the tree for. So maybe arborists identify by the leaves, maybe there's like some fruit hanging and people know it as an orange tree, I guess I decided to draw. So it could be fruit, maybe is the signifying, I don't know, standout factor. Or maybe oxygen. Obviously, we all know trees give us oxygen so we can survive. If you want to think of it scientifically, there's that. Now that we've got the angular houses down, we're going to move forward by talking about angular triads. So we're going to go first, second, third, and then all the way through. Now, this is useful because if we think of the first as sort of like the peak, the second house is going to be the resolution of that topic, and then the third will be prepping us for the next angular house, which would be the fourth. The second house, as we said, has all to do with what do you have. So if we're thinking about our branches or the tree, what is going to come off of that tree? Sap, bark, I don't know, maybe like maple, depends what kind of tree it is, some kind of, you could even put fruit down here, I guess, because that's one of your resources. And then to move on from the succeeding house, now we have the cadent house. So if that's what we have, how do we feel comfortable with that? Maybe we're around trees that we know, or maybe even like the viewpoint, because the third house is all about what's our constant daily, what's comforting to us, and being at the bottom of our tree nestled in the roots, that's a very comforting thing. So next we have the second angular triad of the fourth, fifth, and sixth. The fourth again being the peak, the fifth being the resolution, and then the sixth preparing us for the next angular house being the seventh. So if the fourth is our soil, our roots, where our tree is coming and growing from, the fifth is all about what are we creating from what we were created from. So propagates, right? When you take a plant, you put it in water and you make more. Or even fifth is all about creativity, so things that are created out of wood we could put in this category. If you have other ideas for topics to put in the houses, I would love to hear them. There's probably a lot we could put in this one, but let's move on. So the sixth house being all about what opposes you physically, constantly, daily. I thought lightning would be kind of keen to put in there because, you know, you can strike down. Sixth house is also a lot about health, usually ill health. So tree disease, something that could deteriorate it that we could see physically. And then maybe like villainous bugs that are like eating the leaves. Let's say it's like a fruit tree. Usually bugs are like a no bueno thing for that. Anyway, triad 3. If the seventh is other people, your bestie on the childhood tree you grew up on, we're sort of thinking about what do they have on their branches? What are their resources? You'll notice that the second is your resources, the eighth is theirs. So there's sort of a duality that happens. So a tree swing, maybe your bestie got a tree swing on their side. Maybe we could even say water and sunlight, because those are resources that nature has. Or maybe if you're like, you know, the owner of the tree, I guess you would be in this house and you'd be providing it water, sunlight, or grow lights, those like purple lights that people have, you know. I guess also, you know, binoculars, if you're using the tree as a vantage point, that would be a resource of someone else. So growing out of the eighth house, we have the ninth house of perspective and foreign matters. So foreign trees, trees that are different, not related to you. The view from the top. How cool is it to sit at the top of a tree as a child and just see just your entire yard? Oh, amazing. I did lots of tree climbing as a kid. So now we've got triad 4, which is going to be the 10th through the 12th house. The 10th house, let me just clarify some things here. The 10th house is not only career, it's just publicly what you are known for or what you aspire to be. So in a world of capitalism, if that's what you subscribe to, it could be your job, but not everyone's destiny here is, to have a job. So trees come in all shapes and sizes with all different types of fruit, oxygen. Maybe they've got nuts, maybe they've got legumes, maybe they just chill and, give us oxygen. Like, that's fine. But what matters more is how you share that with your community. So in the 11th house of a trees community, maybe we got squirrels, birds, bugs. I can't spell this, but I tried. Adventurous children. The 11th house is opposite the 5th, and the 5th is creativity. The 11th is how you share that creative energy with other people. So we've got propagates. At the 5th, interesting how many places you could put fruit depending on how you look about it, because the 2nd, it could be your resources, although I don't really know if fruit benefits the tree. Maybe it does. But the 5th, I guess it's sort of also, their children to a degree. And then even like the 11th, sharing that, like you could put a grocery store almost in the 11th, or farmers, because that's who a tree shares their creations with. Whoa, weird to think. To the 12th house. This is a very spiritual place, so I thought aura, because people often say trees have different auras, which I definitely believe, and I think fits here. Also rings, because you have to like cut the tree open, and then you can see how healthy it is, and the 12th house also has to do with like your internal mental health, so I thought that one actually worked out very well. And then beyond that, just like as a meme, like the Keebler Elf Cave, like, I don't know, sort of like your inner workings that people don't know about, maybe, as a metaphor there, we could say. So that is the 12 houses attributed to tree-related concepts. And you'll notice, like I said, they have opposing themes if you look at them across. So the 2nd and the 8th, the 2nd, your resources, the 8th, others, the 5th, your creative endeavors, the 11th, how you share that with other people. Okay, hopefully this is making sense. If it is, please like this video. Please give me a comment about something that I said that helped you understand this, or, subscribe, book a reading, all those things. This is really fun to make. I'm having a great time, and I hope I'm not moving too fast or whatever, talking nonsensically. Anyways, we're going to move on to the transiting planets now and making some analogies to different gardening, more so related concepts. So I'm clarifying transiting planets, meaning the ones moving in the sky and not the ones in your birth chart, only because we're making metaphors about sort of how like weather affects a tree. So the sun in astrology, when it moves to one of your houses, is a focal point or a spotlight on whatever topic it rules. Let's say you're Virgo rising, it's Pisces season, you're just going to have more of a focus in your life on the people you share your life with. Maybe you'll meet more people, maybe new moon, you'll set new expectations for people in your life, or just have different intentions moving forward. So obviously the sun is the most obvious one here. When sun shines on tree or any type of plant, there's a lot of emphasis on it, and that's really what the sun is all about, emphasis. Next we have the moon. And the moon is all about our inner desires. She's moving quickly through each sign every 2.5 days on that 28-day cycle, so she'll go through a sign, and I've heard other astrologers say that sometimes it takes moon transits to really bring down to earth what we're feeling from the more distant, slower moving planets like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and so on. So let's say the moon, if we're going to have her as a little rain cloud, is moving through your 5th house. Maybe you're starting to realize that, like a plant, you're thirsty, you're craving more creativity in your life. Maybe you're wanting or desiring, if it's a new moon in your 5th house, a reset of how you creatively express yourself. Or if it's in your 8th house of how you share with other people, maybe you're realizing that you have a desire to share space with another person. So after that we have Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication, also travel, but that's just a type of communication. I thought a good representation for Mercury would simply just be like fresh air or like oxygen, because the way that the molecules communicate in the air and, you know, other scientific shit or whatever. And we have, you know, sun, water, air. Those are like the three essentials. So that's, I just figured, a good representation of what we start with from those first three planets. So beyond focus, desire, communication, we have Venus. And Venus represents our values, how we balance our life, what we do to create a sense of harmony. So I thought a good representation for this could sort of be like when you have a beautiful garden, but you've sort of let it get a little overgrown, and then the flowers that are there cannot so easily be appreciated or seen because you've got weeds growing everywhere, right? So basically, Venus is asking you to pull out of your life what doesn't matter, take stock of your values, and beautify, harmonize, balance out your life. Next, we have the planet Mars. Mars represents our vitality, our action, aggression, our drive to move things forward. So I thought a really good representation related to plants, planets, trees, gardening, I don't know, we're sort of like slowly getting less off topic. Anyways, would be a tool belt, because Mars rules sharp things. Mars is about taking action. Mars, I mean, any tool can be a weapon, and any weapon can be a tool, you know, vice versa. So anyway, a little tool belt I thought was the best significator, because when Mars goes through one of your houses, it's really asking you to take action, to put your tool belt on, and to like buckle up and, you know, do the work. And if you don't do the work, that's where Mars, because it is a malefic, meaning a planet that can bring obstacles, and even ones that aren't always beneficial, will come in here and sort of fuck up your life sometimes. Next, we have another benefic, which I guess, by the way, Venus is a benefic. If you're born during the night, you are benefic. Jupiter during the day. Is all about expansion. So when Jupiter goes through one of your houses, like transiting Jupiter, you will feel, depending on, you know, if it's an angular, Sacedon, or Caden house, you will either see, feel, or experience in some type of way an expanse related to the themes of that house. So seeds, I thought, were a good metaphor or a symbol for Jupiter, because you have to have seeds to grow, I guess. Or we could say, like, when you've got a plant that's got like crazy roots and really, really, really needs to be repotted into a bigger pot, that bigger pot could be a representation of Jupiter and expansion, because it's grown so much that it needs a new home, so its roots have room to grow. Next we have Saturn, which, like Mars, is a malefic, meaning it brings obstacles, sometimes beneficial, sometimes not. Saturn's topics are limits and reality, so it really forces us to face the music. And as far as plant analogies go, I think soil is a really good representation, because a plant can only grow and expand as good as its soil. So maybe you've got just real basic soil that's sort of dry, or maybe you've got the soil with the little white dudes in it that are like supposed to give you nutrients, or maybe you've got store-bought soil that's like specifically for growth. Whatever your foundation is, which is sort of what you can think of as Saturn, because Saturn rules structures too, that is going to define so many things with your plant metaphor. So when we move on from Saturn, these planets become a little less important just because they're so slow moving, and this is where the moon's transits bring in the context of this. Next, we have the wackiest planet of all that rotates on a 180-degree axis, Uranus. Yes, I said Uranus, that's how other astrologers say it, and I don't want to sound stupid and, you know, have 6-year-olds laugh at me, so I say Uranus. But anyway, it represents innovation and also upheaval. This is on par with the planet. Sort of a wacky analogy I'm making here. Can you guess it based on what I'm drawing so far? So it's like this globe thing that goes in a plant and gives water to it without you needing to remember to even water it. Yeah, okay, it's an aqua globe. There you go. I thought that was a really good analogy because it's an innovation, you know, and that's what Uranus is all about. When Uranus goes through one of our houses, it really asks us to like realize we're on unstable ground, shake it up, and do things for the better. Change is never easy, but the type of change Uranus brings is almost always beneficial. Another good example or analogy could be those like water irrigation things that you see, because now we can water multiple different crops across like miles of land with that invention. Uranus was discovered during the Industrial Revolution, so it rules
Next we have
a lot of
Neptune.
dimensions. But anyway, Neptune is a tricky planet. It is a planet that rules fantasy, delusion, blurred images, deception, also music and art. So that's pretty cool. I thought a great example for our plant analogies would be the album Plantasia, or just like any type of music that you give to plants. One of my friends told me that they've done like research studies where they give plants music to listen to, and then the control group where they like don't have any music, and the plants that have music grew more and were just like happier little dudes. Last but not least, we have the planet that was a planet, then it wasn't a planet, and now it's a dwarf planet, Pluto, and it rules transformation. So how funny is that? It really transformed a lot. I thought a good analogy related to trees and plants would just be the way that seasons change, if you are lucky enough to live somewhere that has seasons. So in the winter, we've got bare trees with just branches. In the spring, we start to see those leaves bud and grow. In the summer, we've got bountiful leaves full of ripening fruit. In the fall, we've got trees changing from green to yellow to orange, all the way to a luscious red if you're near maples. And then the cycle starts over again and the leaves fall off and we're back to winter. This is a good analogy for Pluto because the type of transformation is very dramatic. Usually it was discovered during the, whenever the bomb was created in like the 30s. So it's really associated with like cataclysmic transformations, different than Uranus where it's like unstable ground and then we switch up things, or like a Mercury retrograde where we're rethinking and changing things. This is almost always like completely out of our control transformation. Alright, we're going to end with some examples combining transiting planets and houses. So let's start with Saturn. If we put Saturn in the 4th house, family, home, or soil and roots, if we're talking about a tree, what we now have to do is combine Saturn's themes, which we put as limits and reality, to those 4th house topics. So maybe your roots are really limited. Maybe they're not able to grow a lot. Maybe your soil is not very bountiful. When you become 27 and a half, give or take, you'll have your Saturn return. And that could look a lot of different ways. One of them being maybe your roots, metaphorically, get uprooted and you get a new soil. Maybe you realize that your soil is sort of putrid, and in other words, maybe you just sort of face the reality that you have to create your own sense of belonging in this world, and you can't expect other people to do that for you. Saturn is very delayed gratification, and maybe this is the time that you finally accept, like, I am my only comfort in this world. You know, not to be dramatic, but let's move on from Saturn and talk about something a little more positive, like Jupiter. So let's talk about Jupiter in the 11th house. So Jupiter returns happen about every 11 and a half years. So when you're almost 12, when you're 23 and a half, it always brings expansion. So if we're in the 11th house, maybe, if we're talking trees, you've got a lot more squirrels hanging out at your place. More birds making nests, more children on your branches. If we're talking like real life situations, Jupiter return in the 11th. If you are a performer, the 11th house rules your audiences. So perhaps you have an expanse in your audience and more people are wanting to be a part of your community. Or if you are somebody that finds creativity through community. Maybe you do like a team sport, for example. This could be a time when you really find your tribe and feel like you're starting to belong to a group of people that shares the same interest as you. Let's talk about Mars, and let's say it's in your first house. Remember, Mars rules action and drive. It's all about those gardening tools where we're taking action and moving forward, putting in the work. So with it focused on your branches, maybe some of your branches break off. Maybe you cut some of those pesky, I don't know, twigs off. Actually, Mars in your first house, depending on why you get a haircut, a lot of people end up getting a haircut at this time because Mars in the first house just like attracts sharp things to you as a person. Similarly, sometimes people get a haircut during Venus in their first house because it's about, you know, values and beauty and balance, and maybe you just have been feeling like you want to change up your look, your aesthetic. People get haircuts for different reasons, right? Your first house is all about you, so it's going to have to do with your physical body, your persona, why you are looking the way you are. For Virgo risings, Jupiter is currently in your 7th, and Libra it will be soon when it goes into Aries. But this part of your chart has to do with your partner. So your partner could be experiencing an expanse of some kind, or it could be that you just have more people that you're interacting with on a one-on-one basis. Also, looking where Jupiter rules in your chart or where your own natal Jupiter is will give more context. But overall, it's just an expanse of your partner or interactions you have with other people. Alright, lastly, let's end this with just a moon analysis. So let's say that there's a moon transit happening in your 9th house. Let's say it's a full moon. Full moons are release points or culminations where 6 months prior there was a new moon there of intention setting, which is what a new moon is all about. And when, let's say there's a full moon in your 9th house, you're starting to reconsider your perspective. If you're thinking about it from a tree, maybe this is where you go to the top of the tree and you see a new idea and you finally decide to take action and maybe go to a different tree and consider what that viewpoint is like. And it's sort of a release of the 3rd house or wherever the sun is, if we're talking other axes. You're releasing maybe what you've been comfortable with the 3rd house, or you're releasing your viewpoint that you originally had for the bottom of the tree.
Alright everyone, that is astrology explained as a tree, so really like house topics, planets, transits, all that jazz. Thanks so much for watching. Holy shit, I can't believe you made it to the end of this video. If you can share, like, comment, subscribe, anything, you know, all that stuff, that'd be cool. I had to make this video twice, so call it out. I'm so fucking tired.